Good morning, this is Christine Hart-Savage and you're listening to Mind, Body, Heart and Soul. And today we're speaking on a subject that is a little bit different. We're speaking on Christ consciousness, and not in a religious way, but in a way of life, of who we are, how we live, and just really practical stuff, but it may not necessarily sound practical at first. Might it, George? Welcome.
G'day, welcome. How you going?
So we've got George Seraphim in the studio again, the author of The Truth. So we're going to be discussing a little bit about a different section of George's book, because George's book is a channeled book. And I'll let him describe what that is, and I know he has beforehand.
Yeah, a channeled book. Basically, it's a process where I empty my mind to the point where just a part of my brain closes off. My conscious sort of part of my brain closes off, and another part of my brain opens up, which I can access the spiritual realms.
So would you call that your brain or your mind, George?
It's really it's the whole being, really. It's my mind, wherever that exists, and it's also, utilizing my brain, obviously, my heart. It's a space where I kind of lift my heart up, to God, basically. I become like a vessel where I, just channel information through, basically. So it starts off with a prayer and a meditation, and I end up, reaching this state where I'm in a meditation, and I'm open. My heart starts to kind of like call me to write. It's sort of like a singing. My heart starts to sing, and then I'm basically find myself writing automatically. It could, and the information that I write, I don't know what I'm going to write, and I usually forget what I write after I've written it.
Yeah, so it's like the energy is using you to write its story through you.
Yeah. So the whole book was conceived this way, and it's funny because I can't remember a lot of what's in the book, actually. I have to go back to the book, and when I read it, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I remember this bit. And I can't remember when I wrote it, actually. But, yeah, I remember the words when I go back to it. So, yeah.
So it's not coming from your brain at all. So the part of the book that we're looking at today is on page 201 of The Truth, and it is chapter 4, Higher Knowledge 2. So, and it's a really interesting part, and we're going to discuss about all different things about Christ consciousness from your perspective, from my perspective, what you've channeled through from that higher knowledge.
Yeah.
And what Christ consciousness is, because, it's just a word. They're words, Christ consciousness, and a lot of people call that consciousness very different words. So it's really important that we don't get too hung up on calling it Christ consciousness. But to me, that's what it is as well.
Yeah,
but we don't mean this in a religious sense.
Yeah, we don't really want to sort of see it in a religious sense, although, it might it does encapsulate religion, really.
It encapsulates everything, really, doesn't it? But we don't want it to be just religion. So it's about life, and it's about spirituality.
It includes everybody.
Human beings.
It includes everybody. I know my perspective on everything. I don't like boundaries, because I think boundaries boundaries aren't really real. It's just something that we've created. But in reality, there are no boundaries, because look at the universe. Look how we exist within a universe which is basically infinite, and the universe is without boundaries. Like, how can something like that be created if there were? So I don't believe in boundaries, and I
suppose boundaries are human elements, really, of life, aren't they? Rather than something like the divine or the greater consciousness.
Yeah, so separation. Boundaries are separation. Basically, they make us feel separate from each other and from the Great Spirit, the Holy Spirit. So
how would you describe, or how have you described it in your channelings in your book about Christ consciousness? What is that? How would you describe it?
The Christ consciousness, basically, well, my take on it, my perspective on it.
This is your personal perspective?
It's a perspective that I've come to know.
Yep.
Really, basically through knowledge that's basically that I've read, and I've also that's been given to me, and all the work that I've done basically through the years with healing and talking to so many people about it. Basically, there's a higher plan on Earth, and a lot of people might not be aware of it, but there's basically the way that I know that it's happening is through God. Basically, there's energy, there's a Christ consciousness energy that's being streamed into Earth, and it started in the late 60s, and basically if all this energy was streamed into the Earth plane all at once, it would basically...
we'd combust, wouldn't we?
Apparently, it would just burn Earth completely. So it's just basically just stepped in really small increments, and it's also got to do with something called the quickening too on Earth. So
we would be electrified if it came in all at once. The human body would never ever be able to maintain that sort of energy, would it? Yeah,
because we can't hold. I mean, we can't hold the energy. Eventually, we'll all be able to, but we can't just hold the Christ consciousness energy completely within us.
So eventually, we'll be able to. So as we raise consciousness and the body becomes more purified.
Yeah. So we with all the work that we do. On ourselves, just releasing, stagnant energy, or within all the healing circles and all the light workers, all the work that's done with all of them, they're all part of the whole Christ consciousness plan too. So it's basically just a slow streaming of divine energy that's been coming into Earth over many decades. And what it's been doing is unlocking anything that isn't in line with that. It's like a golden light, basically. And it's been coming in different colors too. Like it comes in through the archangels. When there's a massive trumpet that's sounded, for instance, these things are also written in the Revelations in the Bible as well. Like, for instance, if a more concentrated form of energy comes into Earth, something large happens on Earth. For instance, like there could be like a stock market crash, or the onset of a war, or this or that. And what it's meant to do is just alter most of the thoughts.
The balance. Look, that makes absolute sense to me, because even in my field, as people are going into an altered state of consciousness, and I do that through breathing, what happens is the more of that raising of the cells that starts to happen, and the more purified energy that goes into the body of the person, it will bring up in the external world anything that doesn't match that.
Yeah.
So it will bring up the density so it can be healed and released from the body.
Yeah.
So that makes absolute sense what you're saying.
Yeah. So like with the breath work that you do, exactly what you said. That's exactly what's happening on Earth. So
it looks like a disaster, but it's actually a crisis of purification.
Yeah.
Or a crisis of healing that we see.
Yeah, it just locks anything that isn't in line with the higher realms of thought, the higher realms of the heart. So, and it's been happening for decades now, and we've got so many people on Earth now. There's billions of people on Earth, basically unknown to them as to why they're here, but there's so many people here because they all want to experience this divine energy that's coming through. Unknowing to them, they want to heal themselves through it as well, and to gain like the knowledge and the evolution that comes from experiencing that divine streaming, which is happening on this planet. So that's why we have so many people on Earth at the moment. They're all... It's actually a really beautiful thing. Like nothing on Earth, everything negative that's happening on Earth at the moment isn't really negative, because there's all a higher plan to it. It's all just a mass healing that's happening basically through God and the angelic hierarchies down to Earth. So it's
so we're just really blowing out the cobwebs. So all of these disasters that are happening on our planet at the moment. Yeah. So it's really a healing in action.
Yeah. So what I'd basically suggest to everybody that's listening to this at the moment is not to resist it, basically. So the more resistance that you have to it, the more you'll see how that will affect your life.
Well, resistance always really adds to the muck, doesn't it? Resistance adds to the density.
Yeah, it does. So I was really thinking about it today, actually, the whole the impact of it on Earth and with everybody, and it's actually a really beautiful thing. And I feel so beautifully towards it and so strongly towards it. It's everything that I do in my work. So don't be afraid. Just lift your hearts and do everything that you can to be close to everybody that's in your life, because we have to start from our own backyards.
I think that's a really important point you make there, George. Often we get caught up in the day-to-day things in life, and I think the intimacy and the love that we have for our family and friends needs to be really honoured and stepped into and really addressed. And if you're frightened to say I love you to someone that's close to you, but you do, even if there's some stuff there with that person.
Yeah.
The more stuff, really often it's because we love that person so much.
Yeah.
And to step into that's really, really important.
Yeah.
But the person it ends up enriching is yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that I've been doing that for a long time in my own life, and cleaning things up with people that I love in my own life, and that's even been happening recently too. And I've still got a lot to I think clean up as well. So the more that we can do that, the more that our lives will be blessed, and the more that we'll begin to reinstate that level of consciousness back here on Earth. It happens in our own backyards. So and it's something that we actually can't run away from either, because this energy that's being streamed into Earth it's actually forcing a lot of people to actually turn away from the usual grain and to walk another way, which is really our true home.
Yes.
So
it can be a time that feels quite squishy and difficult, can't it? A bit like the energy's pushing in on you.
Yeah.
But it's taking us in a new direction, and to not resist that is sometimes difficult, but it's really important, because the more we resist, the stronger the energy becomes.
Yeah, the more we resist the energy. We tend to. And I know actually, from my own experience, actually, when I'm resisting things that are coming up, it just makes it worse, basically. So, just let whatever it is that you have to let go. That's going to bring you back in line with your true self.